Typically when I'm naming things, I like to use the most literal name possible. So a plus sign icon I call plus, I don't call it add, because add is only one way that it might be used. And plus is a kind of simpler name. So, same with like lightning. In the Netflix library, we had two different lightning icons because one was called automated and one was called effect. And so, yes, that's what they were being used for, but that is how we ended up with duplicates of the same concept, but they weren't actually even executed the same. They were two different looking lightnings. So we renamed them both to lightning, and then we have like lightning auto, lightning warning, lightning is just lightning dash whatever the modifier was. So the simplest name is often the better answer rather than the function of the icon. There are, of course, exceptions to that, like play. You do not want to name that right triangle. That is super weird. Or like in our case, stop should be stop because it's used in media player controls more than anything else. And Netflix is a media company. So with those, or like next chapter or skip, those have to be named based on what they do because they don't ever represent anything else. But for things that are like that weird in between state, like a lot of location icons, do you call it map? Do you call it pin? Do you call it location? Figure out the simplest name or look at what other libraries are calling them. For instance, the Netflix engineers wanted me to rename something to make it map better to SF symbols, because that also made it easier for their engineers to know what it was going to look like because they're familiar with code that references other Apple stuff, I think. That kind of got beyond my knowledge, but I just said, okay, that's like, I'm not going to be annoyed by that. That's cool. So the simplest name, the better. If you really need to name something based on what it does, make sure it's never, ever, ever going to be used for anything else, which is very hard to predict. And sometimes I'll name things, I will make them a little more complicated if I want to make my life easier in the future. So like we have icons, and I've done this in other libraries too, not just Netflix, but like weather dash snow, weather dash rain, weather dash sun, so that all the weather icons get grouped together. Rather than just say rain, snow, sun, it's a little bit easier then for people to know, oh, these are all weather icons. Sometimes that makes it a tiny bit easier. Also, then someone searches weather, they all come up kind of as a group with the name in the front of it, so they know these are for weather. So there's a couple of other things. I think like I named things building dash market, building dash facility to be a little clearer, but typically you don't want to put all your metadata in the icon name.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've done the same thing with like formatting icons for like a text editor. It's like bold, italic, strike will all be kind of like grouped together in like a little folder of just formatting.
Yeah, so you could be like text italic, text bold. If those maybe then all get put into a formatting category, not all of them are text related. I like what Rick said in the chat as well. A chevron pointing left isn't always back. That is extremely accurate. That's chevron.
But a play button is always play. It's never
it's
like
always
right.
play. Yeah.
Yeah.